show. I have a question for you. This question is predicated in effectively my desire as I look ahead for my 32nd year and as I look ahead to just 2026. I'll have 6 months of really almost 7 of the month. I'll have 7 months of 2026 to live and kind of exist throughout that time. And so I'm really analyzing what are some big goals for me throughout 2026, throughout the end of this year, throughout my 32nd year. And I have a question. So I would love to hear, what are the areas of interest that you would appreciate hearing about? There's something where I started going live every day as a bit of a challenge to me. I shared the other day that the biblical concept of being faithful in little effectively prepares us for when the bigger opportunity comes. And, 3 days after starting to go live, I got approached for the opportunity for the Knowing broadcast TV show. And so as I'm looking at the topics of conversation for these lives and for the daily podcast that these lives are turning into, I really would appreciate and value hearing from you what is meaningful. One of the things that's actually been really helpful for us. So for those of you with a personal brand, one of the things that we're doing that has been incredibly helpful for our clients and also for me is doing a really good analysis of the content that's going out the door. I was actually talking with a friend of mine the other day, and I'm not managing his brand, but I did, he's got his team, and I just asked him, what is the type of kind of analysis looking back at all the content that's gone out the door? And he was like, well, we're not really doing anything. We're not really looking at the content and analyzing it. And so as we've been looking at the data, we look at it on a weekly basis and also a monthly basis, because if we're posting every single day, we've got copious content. We need to be looking at it on a weekly and monthly basis, as well as, you can look at it in a quarterly analysis, but given the volume of content, it's helpful to look at it within a week span as well as the 30-day span. And we've been able to really nail down specific topics on specific platforms, looking at the hashtags that really, I love this analytic. I love that certain platforms will tell you which hashtag has better performed given the reach and then the type of engagement versus other hashtags. And so it'll give you the top topics, the top hashtag, the top peak in the video as well in terms of peak of engagement, and then when people drop off. And so because of that type of analysis, we're able to craft the content in a much better way. And then I'm able to plan for the Knowing show that's going to be live as a broadcast TV channel. And y'all, this is so important, because when we look at the data, when we look at what the story is that's being derived from the stories we're telling, there's a story as a manifestation of the stories we share. And so this is kind of getting to the next level, because a lot of what I'm doing with a lot of our clients is, okay, let's create the initial stories about who you are, the stories predicated in your values, the stories predicated in your experiences, what makes you unique, what makes you different. And then the next level of that is, okay, what are the stories that are being shaped by the stories you're telling? And what I mean by that is, what are the stories found in the data around the stories you're telling? What are the stories that are coming out as a result of your customer and client and lead engagement with those initiating origin stories? And then what are the new stories? Because by way of telling our story, it breeds an entire environment for a new story to take place. Now, by way of me sharing, even now, I'm creating a story right here with you right now. So if we were to look at our life as an ongoing story and initiation of a series thereof, we're able to then extract those stories out with the lessons learned. And then we're looking at life in general in a storytelling format. And then we're never without a endless supply of content. And when we look then, okay, now how do I repurpose this? Now we're kind of starting it all over again. And so I just would love to hear from you. This is my ask. is what is the type of content that is really resonating with you right here, right now. And if you can just shoot me kind of a private message, I would so appreciate that. Because what's interesting for me might not be interesting for you. And I think that that's really when we think about the type of content that we want to produce, a lot of what I'm producing is what is interesting to me. Yet there's also something about just going back to the basics. And y'all, we have to talk about those little things that perhaps even feel boring to us, but that really have changed our lives. So as I'm reflecting back on the last 365 days, because this week I'm dedicating to planning ahead and looking back, we have to look at the little ordinary things that moved the needle and then not leave those behind. I think it's so easy for us to begin wanting to iterate and optimize and grow and scale that we leave behind the little, almost like boring repetitions that got us to where we are today. And so those are kind of the first thing on the chopping block to go because they're no longer sexy. And so what are those minute conversations, topics, lessons that we need to keep ingrained at the forefront of our minds because they drive the very essence of who we are? And so when I think about even that, what are the things that maybe I wouldn't even think to talk about because they're so ingrained in me at this point, yet they're so incredibly critical in order to live the life that I want to live or help others live accordingly. So that's not never limited to just our personal selves. That's including our businesses. What are the things you're doing that are so repetitious for you, that feel so ordinary, mundane, that are actually going to be the massive needle movers for your clients that we never think about talking of? And so when we're thinking of the type of content that we should be talking about and can be talking about, I think that that's another kind of layer of types of content. What are those needle movers for us ourselves that feel boring, that feel mundane, that feel ordinary, but that really do move the needle? Jim Collins talks about that in Good to Great. And I just think that that's a really, really good reminder. So there's obviously the goals that we can talk about in terms of our content. There's what's interesting and exciting to us. There's those ordinary, mundane needle movers. It's so interesting because going live is that it's been such a different approach to content creation than I've ever experienced, because it's different. It's a different modality, so it makes sense that it would feel so different. It's definitely forced me to experience the raw, imperfect, unpolished content creation. And it's not even content creation, it's just creation in general. The more we're able to be led in the moment to create without having the ability to hit pause or rewind, delete, there's something about that that's really, really, it's potent. And even now, as I'm talking, I have this little message in the back of my mind over and over again, like, stay grounded, stay present, stay authentic. Authenticity is really, really hard when you're looking at a camera. And I feel myself sometimes ebbing in and out of authenticity. I even now, so I've got this message on repeat in the back of my mind of stay authentic, stay present, stay here, stay now. And then on the other side of my mind, the other little angel on my shoulder is, don't waste time, keep them engaged, keep them in what's interesting, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's the horizontal and it's the vertical. That's so funny. It's the vertical position that allows for the authenticity. And then there's the horizontal that really can distract. And it feels like this weight that's like pulling me down and out of alignment, of the vertical alignment. It's the draw towards almost like moving my eyes away from the prize. I once had this kind of picture in my mind's eye of like living life like a horse with blinders on. You know, when they're pulling like a horse-drawn carriage, they can't see anything in their periphery other than exactly the road ahead of them. And y'all, I feel like I need that. Like this pull to live horizontally aligned first is so, it feels just like impossible sometimes. Even tonight, I was talking with someone and I just had this moment where I could feel myself moving out of alignment. And I actually said, I was like, I just need a minute. And I went for just a quick little, like literally 90 seconds or less, and just took a quick little walk. And I just needed to get back into alignment. And I think that those little habits, those little moments in our lives where we start feeling the pull and the weight of getting out of alignment, and then we can come back. The pull and the weight of coming out of alignment, and then maybe we actually do move out of alignment for more than 90 seconds, but then we have the ability to come back in. Oh, what was this? I heard this quote. I think my therapist said this to me last year. She effectively said, or gosh, I don't even know. Maybe it was her, I don't know. But something along the lines of, the point isn't whether you get out of alignment. The point is how quickly you can come back into alignment. And I love that because there's so much freedom in, you know, kind of the ebbing and flowing, and that's okay. You know, the goal isn't perfection. And given how I was raised, with perfection being the anthem, with perfection being the target, one, I was ever missing it, constantly failing. And so then why ever try for something new or audacious? Because if I'm already failing at just the mundane little things that I'm supposed to do with perfection, then why would I ever try for anything bigger? Wow, I've never thought of this. So if we have this fear of going for, as Steve Sims says, go for stupid, if we have that fear of going for stupid, is it perhaps because we have an obsession with trying to get the little things that actually really don't matter perfect? I think that that is one of my biggest reasons why I haven't gone for stupid. I love this. This is so helpful for me. Y'all, if we really were honest and really analyzed what is holding you back, what is that thing? What's your thing? What and why are you not going for that which you love, dream of, want, desire? I think so many times it's because we actually don't even know in the first place. And then, yes, then there's the mindsets and narratives and preconditionings, programmings, etc. But we have to know first. We have to know what we even want to begin with. And then we can begin to square off and confront it. So as I started out with this conversation, what are the topics? What are the things that light you up? What are the topics that would be helpful, beneficial, meaningful? And also, I guess a challenge for you would be, why are you not talking about it? And are you talking about it? What kind of responses are you getting? Because y'all, each one of us carries I really believe, the innate responsibility to talk about, embody. This is interesting. I was just saying we have to know, right? We have to know what we want. The definition of emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, to be aware of, understand, and express one's own emotions, and the ability to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and with empathy. So when we look at kind of any given desire, that's often rooted in our emotions. So we have to first be aware of it. That is step number one. And then we have that innate responsibility to then understand it, because first it's awareness, second it's an understanding and that knowing, and then it's to take action, to actually express it. And so for the thing that is that desire deep within us, it is our fundamental responsibility to be aware of it, to understand it, and then to express it. And then it's the handling of that. And it's almost like a passing on the baton to somebody else judiciously and with empathy. And that rule of emotional intelligence extends beyond just our own desires and our own values. Let's say it also includes the manner in which we engage with business, the manner in which we engage with our employees, everything. And it's so exciting that those are the three elements that constitute emotional awareness and emotional intelligence. So with that, I'd love to just ask one more time, what are the things that really, really light you up, that really excite you? Are you taking radical responsibility to cultivate that in and of yourself? If that is something that would be a helpful topic for us to talk about on The Knowing Show, I would love to hear. And I'd love to hear how you're embodying it now in terms of that radical responsibility that you innately have and possess to cultivate that because it resides within you. And then what's the response? What are the stories that you're learning as a ramification of being present, talking about it, cultivating? What are you learning as a result? What's the data that you're deriving from it?